The auction hall smelled like rust and old oil. Taiho stood at the back of the crowd, his warm boots barely holding together. He counted the credits in his pocket for the 10th time. 12. He had exactly 12 credits to his name. Around him stood aliens of every kind. Tall Molkari traders with 4 arms and silver skin. Short Bravani merchants with 6 eyes that never blinked. Massive Gorath warriors who came to buy old warship parts. None of them looked at Taiho. To them, he was invisible. Just another human. Humans were the newcomers to the galaxy. They had arrived only 200 years ago, scattered and broken, refugees from a dead world called Earth. The other species saw them as weak. They saw them as primitive. They let humans live on their stations, but only in the lowest levels. Only doing the worst jobs. Taiho was a scavenger. He collected broken ships and sold them for parts. It was dirty work. It was dangerous work. But it kept him alive on Velis 9, the trading station at the edge of known space. The auctioneer was a Molkari named Braxis. He had 4 arms and used all of them to gesture at the items for sale. His voice boomed across the hall. Lot 45. A Bravani cargo hauler. Minor damage to the hull. Starting bid, 200 credits. The bidding was fast and loud. Taiho did not raise his hand. 200 credits was more money than he had seen in his entire life. Lot after lot sold for prices he could never pay. Engines went for thousands. Navigation systems went for hundreds. Even broken fuel cells sold for 50 credits each. Taiho wondered why he had come. He had hoped to find something small, something everyone else had overlooked. But everything was too expensive. Then Braxis waved his 4 arms at the far corner of the hall. Workers pulled back a large curtain, and the crowd turned to look. Behind the curtain sat a ship. It was not big, maybe 40 meters long, but it was ugly. The hull was covered in black marks and deep scratches. Whole sections of armor plating were torn away. The cockpit windows were cracked and dark. It looked like someone had dragged it through a war and then left it to rot for 100 years. Lot 47, Braxis announced. His voice had changed. He sounded bored now, almost annoyed. A vessel of unknown origin. Registry deleted. All systems non-functional. Hull integrity questionable. We found it drifting near the rim passage 6 months ago. No one has claimed it. No one can identify the design. The crowd murmured. A few aliens laughed. It's scrap metal, someone shouted. Not even worth the fuel to tow it, another voice added. Braxis nodded as if he agreed. Starting bid. 5 credits. No one moved. Taiho stared at the ship. There was something about it. Something he could not explain. The shape was different from anything he had seen before. The armor, even damaged, looked thick and strong. The design was simple but purposeful. Everything about it said this ship was built to survive. Any bids? Braxis asked. He was already looking at his list, ready to move to the next item. 5 credits for lot 47. Anyone? Silence. Taiho's heart beat fast. His mouth felt dry. He raised his hand. 7 credits, he said. His voice was quiet, but in the silence, everyone heard it. The whole crowd turned to look at him. 100 alien eyes stared at the young human in the worn clothes. Then they laughed. The laughter was loud and cruel. Molkari traders slapped their 4 hands together in amusement. Bravani merchants clicked their tongues. Even Braxis smiled, showing his silver teeth. The human wants the junk ship, someone said. Let him have it. Maybe he can live inside it? 7 credits. That's more than the thing is worth. Braxis raised his gavel. He was happy to be done with it. 7 credits to the human. Sold. The gavel came down with a bang. Taiho did not react to the laughter. He had heard worse. He had been mocked his entire life. Humans were always mocked. They were told they were weak. They were told they did not belong among the stars. But Taiho had learned something important in his years as a scavenger. Sometimes the most valuable things were hidden inside what others threw away. He pushed through the crowd and walked toward his new ship. Up close, it looked even worse. The black marks on the hull were deep. The metal was cold under his hand. But as he touched it, he felt something strange. The metal HFY was faint. So faint that he almost missed it. But it was there. A vibration deep inside the ship. Like a heartbeat. "What are you?" Taiho whispered. The ship did not answer. But Taiho felt something he had not felt in a long time. Hope. He paid his 7 credits to the auction office. He signed the ownership papers. The clerk, a bored Malkari woman, barely looked at him. "It's your problem now," she said. "Get it out of the auction bay by tomorrow, or we charge storage fees." Taiho nodded. He rented a small tow vehicle for 3 credits, leaving him with only 2. Then he attached the cables to his ship and began the slow journey to his repair bay in the station's lower levels. As he flew through the station, he passed hundreds of ships. Sleek trading vessels, powerful warships, beautiful passenger cruisers. His ugly black ship looked like garbage next to them. But Taiho did not care. For the first time in years, he owned something. Something that was his alone. He did not know it yet, but he had just bought the most dangerous weapon in the galaxy. And the galaxy was not ready. The lower levels of Velos 9 were dark and cramped. Pipes ran along the ceilings, dripping water that smelled like chemicals. The air was thick and warm. Most aliens never came down here. This was where the humans lived. Taiho's repair bay was a small room carved into the station's hull. It had 1 workbench, a few old tools, and barely enough space for a single person to stand. But today, it held something special. The black ship sat in the docking area outside, connected to Taiho's bay by a short tunnel. He had spent all night just looking at it, studying its shape, trying to understand what it was. "You actually bought it." Taiho turned around. Somi stood in the doorway, her arms crossed. She was small, with short black hair and eyes that missed nothing. She wore the same dirty work clothes as Taiho. Grease stains covered her hands. Somi was an engineer. The best engineer Taiho had ever met. She could fix anything. They had grown up together in the refugee camps, 2 orphan children with no family and no future. Now they ran this tiny salvage business together. "I bought it," Taiho said, with 7 credits. "Yes." Somi walked past him and looked at the ship through the tunnel window. Her face showed nothing. "It's garbage, Taiho. The hull is destroyed. The systems are dead. We can't even get inside." "I know," Taiho admitted. "But there's something about it. When I touched the hull, I felt something. Like it was alive." Somi gave him a look that said he was crazy. But she did not argue. She never argued. She just worked. "Fine," she said. "Let's see what we have." They spent the morning trying to open the ship's main hatch. None of their tools worked. The metal was too strong. Finally, Somi found a small emergency access panel hidden under a damaged section of armor. She connected a power cell to the exposed wires. Nothing happened. "Dead," Somi said. "Just like I thought." But Taiho was not ready to give up. "Try again. Use more power." Somi frowned. "If I use more power, I might fry the whole system." "Do it anyway." She sighed, but she did as he asked. She connected a second power cell, then a third. The small panel began to glow with heat. "Taiho, this is too much. Something's going to break. Just a little more." Somi added the 4th power cell. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the ship woke up. It did not happen slowly. 1 second, The vessel was dark and dead. The next second, every light inside it came on at once. The hull vibrated. The engines made a deep sound, like a giant taking its first breath after a long sleep. Taiho and Somi stumbled backward as the emergency hatch slid open. Warm air rushed out, carrying a smell they did not recognize. Clean air. Pure air. The kind of air that cost a fortune to produce. What the hell? Somi whispered. They stepped inside. The interior of the ship was nothing like the exterior. Where the outside was damaged and ugly, the inside was perfect. Smooth walls of dark metal. Soft lights that adjusted as they moved. Seats made of material that looked brand new. And in the center of the main room, a holographic display flickered to life. Words appeared in the air. But they were not in galactic standard. They were in a language Taiho had only seen in old books. Old human books from Earth. That's Korean, he breathed. Old Korean. From before the Exodus. Sami's hands were shaking. Taiho, that's impossible. Those ships were all destroyed. The history books say the first fleet never made it out of the solar system. Before Taiho could respond, a voice spoke. It came from everywhere and nowhere. A woman's voice, calm and clear. Crew identification required. State your vessel designation. Taiho's heart stopped. He looked at Somi. She looked back at him, her face pale. We're humans, Taiho said, his voice shaking. We're from the colonies. A pause. Then the lights changed color, from blue to warm gold. Human signatures confirmed. DNA analysis complete. You are descendants of Earth. Another pause. Longer this time. Taiho could hear his own heartbeat. Welcome aboard the KN's Taiguk. I am Hana, the ship's tactical intelligence. I have been waiting 412 years for crew to return. Awaiting orders, Captain. Taiho could not speak. Captain. The AI had called him Captain. Hana, Somi said slowly. What is this ship? What is the KN's Taiguk? The holographic display changed. It showed images that took Taiho's breath away. A massive fleet of ships, hundreds of them, leaving a burning planet, Earth, the blue world that humanity had lost. The Taiguk is a destroyer-class warship, Hana explained. I was built in the Sol Orbital Shipyard in the year 2847 Earth calendar. My mission was to protect the refugee fleet during the Great Migration. I was part of the final defensive line. More images appeared. Ships fighting against enemies Taiho had never seen. Explosions in space. Sacrifice and courage and death. During the battle at the Neptune line, I suffered critical damage. My crew placed themselves in emergency stasis. I was ordered to hide and wait for rescue. The rescue never came. Somi walked to a control panel. Her engineer's eyes were reading everything. Hana, what is your current combat status? Primary weapons are offline. Secondary weapons are at 34% capacity. Engines are functional, but require maintenance. Shield generators are at 12%. Armor plating is damaged but intact. Taiho looked around the ship with new eyes. This was not garbage. This was not scrap metal. This was a warship from Earth's final hour. A ship built when humanity fought for survival. Hana, he asked, what kind of weapons does this ship carry? The Taiguk is equipped with 4 railgun batteries, capable of accelerating projectiles to 15% light speed. 2 plasma torpedo launchers. 1 experimental kinetic burst cannon. And various point defense systems. Somi made a sound that might have been a laugh or a sob. Taiho, do you understand what this means? This ship has weapons that don't exist anymore. Technology that was lost when Earth died. Taiho understood. He understood perfectly. He had paid 7 credits for a ship that could destroy anything in the galaxy. Hana, he said, and his voice was stronger now. "Can you teach us how to use these systems?" "Of course, Captain. Teaching protocols are available. However, I must inform you that full restoration will require significant resources. The Taigak is wounded, but she is not dead." Taiho smiled for the first time in years. Neither was humanity. News traveled fast on VELIS-9. Within hours of the Taiguk's awakening, strange reports spread through the station. People talked about energy readings coming from the lower levels. Sensors had detected power signatures that matched no known technology. Unusual signals were broadcasting on frequencies that no one used anymore. The Molkari Trade Guild noticed immediately. Commodore Veth sat in his office on the upper levels of the station. He was old for a Molkari, with silver skin that had darkened to gray. His 4 hands rested on his desk, each one covered in expensive rings. He had controlled the trade in this sector for 30 years. He had become rich by taking what he wanted. "Show me the readings again," he ordered. His assistant projected the data into the air. Energy spikes. Power levels that should have been impossible. All coming from a small repair bay owned by 2 human scavengers. "That's military-grade output," Veth said slowly. "No, that's beyond military grade." "What did those humans find?" His assistant checked the records. "The mail. Taiho purchased a salvage vessel at yesterday's auction. Lot 47. Unknown origin. It was listed as non-functional." Veth remembered that lot. Everyone had laughed when the human bought it. No one thought it was worth anything. But these energy readings told a different story. "I want that ship," Veth said. "Send a security team. Tell the humans they must surrender the vessel for inspection." Guild authority. The security team arrived at Taiho's repair bay 1 hour later. 6 armed Molkari soldiers in full armor. They banged on the door with their weapons. "Open up, human." "By order of Commodore Veth, you are required to surrender your vessel for immediate inspection." Inside the Taiguk, Taiho and Somi watched through the ship's external sensors. Hana displayed the soldiers on a holographic screen. 6 hostiles detected, Hana reported. Light armor. Standard energy weapons. Threat assessment, minimal. "They want to take the ship," Somi said. Her voice was tight with anger. "They always do this. They take everything from us." Taiho felt the same anger. His whole life, he had watched aliens take from humans. Food, money, ships, dignity. They took and never stopped. But today was different. Today, he had something they could not take. "Hannah, what are our options?" "I can seal the ship against entry. Current hull integrity is sufficient to withstand their weapons. However, they may return with greater force." As if hearing this prediction, a new signal came through. Commodore Veth's face appeared on the display. His gray skin looked even darker with anger. "Human," he said, "I know you can hear me. You will surrender that vessel immediately. If you do not, I will send my cruisers to remove it by force." "You have 1 hour." The signal ended. Somi turned to Taiho. "He's serious. He has 3 armed cruisers docked at the upper levels. We can't fight that." "Hana," Taiho asked, "can we fight 3 cruisers?" "Please specify cruiser class and armament." Somi accessed the station's public records. Molkari patrol cruisers. Standard configuration. Plasma cannons, missile systems, deflector shields. Hana processed this information for exactly 2 seconds. Threat assessment, negligible. Taiga-class destroyers were designed to engage enemy fleets numbering in the hundreds. 3 patrol cruisers present no tactical challenge. Recommend offensive engagement. Taiho stared at the display. "You're saying we can win?" "I am saying that victory is certain, Captain. The only question is how quickly you wish to end the engagement." Somi laughed. It was a strange sound, full of disbelief and hope. "Taiho, this ship is 400 years old, and it thinks modern cruisers are not a threat." "They are not," Hana confirmed. "Galactic technology has advanced in comfort and efficiency. It is not advanced in warfare. The weapon systems on the Taigok remain superior to anything currently deployed in known space." Taiho made his decision. "Hana, bring all available weapons online. We're leaving the station." The Tagyuk's engines powered up with a roar that shook the lower levels. Throughout Velis 9, people stopped what they were doing. They felt the vibration through the floors. They heard a sound that no one had heard in 4 centuries. The sound of Earth's fury waking up. The ship rose from its dock, tearing through the flimsy tunnel that connected it to Taiho's repair bay. Debris flew in all directions. Alarms screamed throughout the station. Emergency lights flashed. On the upper levels, Commodore Veth watched his sensors with growing horror. The energy readings were off the scale. The ship that everyone had mocked was rising through the station like a dark angel. "Launch the cruisers!" he screamed. "Destroy that thing, now." 3 Molkari cruisers undocked and moved to intercept. They were sleek and modern, built with the finest technology the Trade Guild could buy. Their captains were confident. They were facing a single old ship crewed by 2 humans. They were wrong. The Taigok emerged from the station into open space. Its damaged hull glowed in the starlight. Its cracked windows reflected nothing. Ears reflected nothing. It looked like a ghost ship, a relic from a dead world. Then its armor plate shifted. Hidden panels slid open, revealing weapons that had not fired in 400 years. Railgun batteries emerged from the hull. Missile pods locked into position. The ship transformed from an ugly wreck into something beautiful and terrible. "Target acquired," Hana announced. "Firing solution calculated. Awaiting orders, Captain." Taiho looked at the 3 cruisers on his display. He thought about every insult, every cruelty, every time an alien had told him that humans were worthless, that they did not belong among the stars. "Fire," he said. The railgun spoke. The first cruiser exploded before its crew knew they were under attack. The projectiles traveled so fast that the shields never activated. One moment the ship existed. The next moment, it was a cloud of fire and metal. The second cruiser tried to turn. It was too slow. 3 railgun rounds punched through its hull from bow to stern. The ship broke apart, spilling bodies and debris into space. The third cruiser managed to fire 1 volley. The plasma bolts splashed harmlessly against the Taduk's ancient armor. Hana did not even bother to dodge. Returning fire. The AI said calmly. The third cruiser died like its brothers. The battle lasted 11 seconds. On Velis 9, thousands of aliens watched through viewports and sensors. They saw the 3 modern cruisers reduced to floating wreckage. They saw the black ship hovering among the debris, undamaged and unafraid. Commodore Veth collapsed into his chair. His 4 hands trembled. He had just lost 3 ships and over 200 crew members. And the human vessel had not even been scratched. "What is that thing?" he whispered. Across the station, in bars and markets and living quarters, other aliens asked the same question. They looked at the humans around them with new eyes. These weak, primitive creatures. These refugees from a dead world. What else were they hiding? On the Taguk's bridge, Taiho sat back in the captain's chair. His hands were shaking, but not from fear. From excitement. From power. From hope. "Hana," he said, "send a message to the station. Tell them the Taigok is not for sale. Not at any price." Message sent, Captain. Somi stood beside him, tears running down her face. She was smiling. "They'll come for us," she said. "The whole galaxy will come for us now." Taiho nodded. "Let them come. We'll be ready." The Taduguk turned and flew into the darkness of space, leaving Velis 9 behind. The galaxy had just learned a lesson it would never forget. Humanity was done being weak. 3 days passed. The Taigok drifted in empty space, far from any station or planet. Taiho had chosen this location carefully. They needed time. Time to learn the ship. Time to understand what they had found. Time to figure out what to do next. Somi spent every waking hour studying the Taguk systems. She was like a child with a new toy, except this toy was 400 years old and could destroy fleets. Each discovery made her more excited. Taiho, look at this, she called from the engine room. These power cells. They use a fuel source that doesn't exist anymore. It's some kind of crystal compound. And there's enough stored in the reserves to run the ship for another 200 years. Taiho nodded. He was on the bridge, going through the ship's logs with Hana's help. The AI had records of everything. The construction of the ship, the training of its crew, the final battle at the Neptune line. It was that last part that haunted him. He said. The logs show that 12 crew members entered emergency stasis before the ship went dark. Where are they now? The crew remains in stasis, Hana replied. Their pods are located in the lower vault. I have kept them preserved for 412 years. Taiho felt his blood run cold. They're still alive? Technically, they are neither alive nor dead. They exist in a state between. Their bodies have not aged. Their minds are sleeping. If their pods were to be opened, they would wake as if no time had passed. Taiho stood up slowly. Hana, why didn't you tell us this earlier? You did not ask, Captain. Additionally, I wanted to assess your intentions before revealing sensitive information. The crew of the Taigok trusted me with their lives. I needed to be certain you were worthy of that trust. And now? Now I believe you are worthy. You fought to protect this ship. You did not run when facing superior numbers. You showed courage. The crew would have approved. Taiho called Somi to the bridge. When he told her about the stasis pods, she went pale. 12 people from Earth, she whispered. Actual people from before the Exodus. They might know things that were lost. Technology. History. Everything. We need to see them, Taiho decided. Hana guided them to a section of the ship they had not explored. A heavy door blocked the way. It was marked with symbols in Old Korean. Somi translated them slowly. Central Vault. Authorized personnel only. Warning. Disturbance may cause system failure. Hana, open the door. Understood, Captain. The door slid open with a hiss of escaping air. Cold mist flowed out, so cold that it burned Taiho's skin. Beyond the door was a large room filled with blue light. 12 pods stood in 2 rows of 6. Each pod was made of clear material, allowing Taiho to see the person inside. Men and women, all wearing military uniforms. All perfectly still. All waiting. I walked between the rows, reading the nameplates on each pod. Lieutenant Minho, Weapons Specialist. Sergeant Jizu, Engineering. Private Hyan, Communications. She stopped at the last pod in the row. Captain Yuna, Commanding Officer. Taiho came to stand beside her. The woman in the pod was older than the others. Her hair was silver, cut short in a military style. Her face was lined with experience. Even in sleep she looked fierce. Hana, tell me about Captain Yuna. The AI's voice filled the vault. Captain Yuna was one of the most decorated officers in Earth's final fleet. She commanded the rearguard action at the Neptune line, buying time for the refugee ships to escape. She was believed to have died in that battle. Her sacrifice is taught in the history of all human colonies. Somi gasped. I know that name. Every human child learns about her. She's a legend. She is also alive, Hana said simply, awaiting revival. Taiho looked at the woman in the pod. A legend. A hero from Earth's last days. She had given everything so that humanity could survive. And she had been sleeping here, forgotten, for 400 years. Can we wake them? He asked. The revival process is possible, but delicate. I recommend reviving one crew member first to ensure the system functions correctly. Somi and Taiho exchanged looks. They both knew who they wanted to wake first. Start with Captain Yuna, Taiho said. Understood. Beginning revival sequence. The pod's blue light changed to gold. Machines hummed. Fluids drained from tubes. The cold mist faded, replaced by warmth. Data streamed across a small display, showing heart rate, brain activity, body temperature. Slowly, the numbers climbed from nothing to normal dot. Then Captain Yuna opened her eyes. For a moment, she did not move. Her eyes scanned the ceiling, the walls, the two strangers standing over her. Her expression showed no fear, only calculation. Report, she said. Her voice was rough from centuries of disuse, but it still carried authority. What year is it? Where is my ship? What is our tactical situation? Taiho did not know what to say. He had never spoken to a legend before. Somi stepped forward. Her voice was shaking. Captain Yuna, my name is Somi. This is Taiho. We're humans. We found your ship drifting in space and bought it at an auction. A pause. Yuna's eyes narrowed. Bought it? For 7 credits. Taiho added quietly. Another pause. Longer this time. Then, despite everything, Captain Yuna laughed. It was a hard laugh, full of disbelief and dark humor. 7 credits. The Taigek was the pride of Earth's fleet. And you bought her for 7 credits. She shook her head slowly. What has happened to humanity while I slept? Somi told her everything. The fall of Earth, the scattering of the refugee fleet, the 200 years of survival on alien stations, always treated as second-class citizens, the loss of technology, culture, and hope, the way humans live now, scraping by at the edges of the galaxy. Yuna listened without interrupting. Her face grew harder with each word. When Somi finished, the captain was silent for a long moment. So we lost, she finally said. Everything we fought for. Everything we sacrificed. It was not enough. We survived, Taiho said. Isn't that what you wanted? Yuna looked at him with eyes that had seen worlds burn. Survival is not victory, boy. Survival is just the first step. We did not fight and die so that our descendants could live as beggars and outcasts. She pushed herself up, climbing out of the pod on unsteady legs. Somi moved to help her, but Yuna waved her away. I am fine. I have rested long enough. She looked around the vault at the other pods. My crew, are they alive? All of them, Hana confirmed. Ready for revival on your command, Captain. Yuna nodded slowly. Wake them. All of them. We have work to do. She walked toward the door, then stopped and turned back to look at Taiho. Her eyes were measuring him, judging him. You bought this ship. You fought off enemies to keep her. Hana says you have courage. She tilted her head. But do you have what it takes to lead? To fight not just for yourself, but for all of humanity? Taiho met her gaze without looking away. I don't know, but I'm willing to learn. For the first time, something like approval crossed Yuna's face. Good answer, she said. That is where all great things begin. Now come, we have a species to rebuild, and a galaxy to remind why they should fear humanity. She walked out of the vault, straight-backed and proud, as if she had not been asleep for 400 years. Taiho and Somi followed. Behind them, the other pods began to glow gold as the revival sequence started. Earth's last soldiers were waking up. and they were not happy with what they found. The news spread across the galaxy like fire through dry grass. Within a week, every station and colony had heard the story. A human scavenger had bought a junk ship for 7 credits. The ship had turned out to be an ancient Earth warship. It had destroyed 3 modern cruisers in 11 seconds. And now, the humans aboard were broadcasting a message that no one could ignore. Commodore Veth was desperate. He had lost his ships. He had lost his crew. He had lost his reputation. The only way to save himself was to destroy the Teguk before anyone realized how dangerous it truly was. He went to the Galactic Council. The council met on a station at the center of known space. Representatives from 100 species gathered in a massive chamber, their bodies and voices filling the air with alien sounds. Veth stood before them, his 4 hands clasped together in a gesture of respect. "Honored representatives," he said, "I come to warn you of a threat. The human species has recovered a weapon from their past, a weapon of terrible power. If we do not act now, they will use it against us all." Murmurs ran through the chamber. Some representatives looked concerned, others looked bored. Humans were not important enough to worry about. "What do you propose?" asked the council leader, a massive Gorath with scarred gray skin. "I propose that humanity be declared a threat species," Veth said. "I propose that their colonies be contained, their ships be seized, their technology be destroyed. Before they become too powerful to stop." The chamber erupted in debate. Some species agreed with Veth. They had always feared humanity's potential. Others disagreed. Humans were weak, they said. One old warship did not change that dot, but while the council argued, something else was happening. On the Teguk, Captain Yuna had taken command. Her crew was awake now, all 11 of them. They moved through the ship like ghosts from another time, checking systems and reading reports. They spoke in Old Korean, their voices soft with grief for the world they had lost. But grief did not stop them from working. Lieutenant Minho, the weapons specialist, brought the railguns to full power. Sergeant Jisu repaired the shield generators, pushing them from 12% to 60%. Private Hyan established the secure communication channels that the alien governments could not intercept, and Taiho watched them all, learning. Yuna found him on the bridge, standing at the viewport and looking out at the stars. "You seem troubled," she said. Taiho nodded slowly. "I'm trying to understand my place in all this. You're the captain. Your crew knows things I'll never know. What am I supposed to do?" Yuna stood beside him. In the starlight, her silver hair looked white. "You found this ship," she said. "You believed in it when no one else did. That matters. Leadership is not just about knowledge. It's about seeing possibilities that others miss." She turned to face him. "I will command this ship in battle, but you will be our bridge to the future. You know this galaxy. You know the humans who live in it now. Together, we can do what neither of us could do alone." Before Taiho could respond, HNA's voice cut through the air. "Captain, I am detecting multiple incoming signals. Human frequencies. They are responding to our broadcast." Yuna moved to the communications panel. "Show me." The holographic display filled with messages. Dozens of them. Hundreds. They came from tiny human settlements on distant moons. From workers on mining stations. From refugees hiding in the dark corners of alien cities. All of them had heard the Teguk's message. All of them were responding. "We heard you," one message said. "We thought we were alone. We thought everyone had forgotten Earth. Tell us what to do." "My grandfather told me about the First Fleet," said another. "He said our ancestors were warriors. He said we lost our fire. But he was wrong. The fire was just sleeping. You woke it up." Selmy appeared on the bridge, her eyes wet with tears. "Taiho, they're sending everything. Ship designs they kept hidden. Old technology they preserved in secret. Family histories going back to Earth itself. Humans have been saving this for generations, waiting for someone to give them hope. Yuna read through the messages, her expression unreadable. When she finished, she closed her eyes for a long moment. "I thought we failed," she finally said. "I thought everything we sacrificed was for nothing. But I was wrong. Humanity survived. Not just their bodies, their spirit, their memory, their will to rise again." She opened her eyes and looked at her crew. At Taiho and Somi, at the messages still flooding in from across the galaxy. "We have a choice," she announced. "We can hide. We can run. We can spend our lives avoiding the enemies who want to destroy us. Or we can stand. We can fight. We can show the galaxy that humanity is not done." Lieutenant Minho stepped forward. He was young, with a scar across his face from a battle fought 4 centuries ago. "What are your orders, Captain?" Yuna smiled. It was a warrior's smile, fierce and unafraid. "Broadcast our response. Tell every human in the galaxy that the Taegak stands ready. Tell them to rebuild, to remember, to prepare. And tell our enemies this. We are coming." Private Hyan's hands flew across the communication panel. Within seconds, the message was racing across space at the speed of light. In the Galactic Council chamber, the representatives were still debating when the human message arrived. The council leader read it aloud, his voice growing quieter with each word. "To those who would harm humanity, we remember what we were. We remember the fire that forged us. Our ancestors built ships like this one, not because we wanted war, but because we refused to die. That has not changed. The Taegak stands ready, and we are no longer alone." Silence fell over the chamber. Commodore Veth's 4 hands trembled. "This is exactly what I warned you about. They are threatening us. We must act now." But the council leader was looking at something else. Reports coming in from across the galaxy. Human workers walking off their jobs on alien stations. Human settlements arming themselves with weapons they had kept hidden. Old ships being pulled from storage, their ancient engines roaring back to life. "It may already be too late," the leader said quietly. "We underestimated them. We thought they were broken. But they were just waiting." On the Taegak, Taiho stood beside Captain Yuna as they watched the galaxy react to their message. Fear, confusion, anger, but also, from the human colonies, something else entirely. "Hope. Captain," Taiho said, "do you really think we can do this? Rebuild humanity? Stand against the entire galaxy?" Yuna was quiet for a moment. Then she placed her hand on his shoulder. "You bought this ship for 7 credits, she said. "Do you know what it's actually worth?" Taiho shook his head. Yuna's smile grew warmer. "Everything. It was worth everything. Not because of the weapons, not because of the technology, but because it reminded our people who they are." She turned to look out at the stars. Somewhere out there, human children were hearing stories about Earth for the first time. Old men were crying as they remembered what their ancestors had built. Young people were standing a little straighter, a little prouder, for the first time in their lives. "That is what you bought with your 7 credits, Yuna said. "A future, a chance, a new beginning." Taiho felt something shift inside him. The fear was still there, but it was smaller now. In its place grew something stronger. Purpose. "Then let's not waste it," he said. Yuna nodded. She walked to the captain's chair and sat down. Her crew took their positions around the bridge. Taiho and Somi stood at her side. "Ana," Yuna commanded, "set course for the nearest human colony. It's time to bring our people home." "Course plotted, Captain. Ready when you are." Yuna looked at the stars one last time. "Humanity rises," she said quietly. "Again." The Taeguk's engines blazed to life, and the ship shot forward into the darkness. Behind them, the galaxy trembled. and in the hearts of every human across the stars, something ancient and powerful began to wake. The fire was back, and it would never go out again.